Hola, and welcome to another installment of Astrology versus Psychology. Thank you for joining me. I'm Nikki DeCaster. I have a decade plus experience as an astrologer, and so that's kind of why I'm skipping through the DSM-5 and trying to see how we can have psychology learn from astrology and vice versa. How we can work with these energies better, how they might show up, that sort of thing. And today we're going to be taking a look at pyromania, which should be quick and sparky and to the point, I think. Sometimes these things go on, but I don't think that'll be the case today. But I'm joined by Sarah Castaneda.
Hello.
And she is an author of
Yes.
a poetry book.
Yes. I am author of an upcoming book called Underdog Bet. It's a book of poetry. And at Authortunities, I am the fantastic, ekphrastic weekly editor for poetry. And that's about it right now.
That's enough, right?
Poetry.
And she's quite a good poet. So when her thing comes out, or her book comes out, you should pick it up. We'll put a link below to all of those things. And so when I first started looking at pyromania, I immediately thought of Mars. Mars is the planet of fire in astrology. So right off the bat, I'm like, there's something going on with that. And it's just Mars's energy and our drive and aggression and all of those, warlike aspects. And I expected to see some sort of interaction, and it would vary depending on where the pyromania is stemming from. But most likely there's an aspect of control going on here. So with control, we see things like Saturn, having to do with I'm in control of this. Maybe I feel out of control in other parts of my life. So this is the one thing that I'm going to have control over and then watch with glee as X, Y, and Z happens. There also could be a Mercury aspect involved because Mercury can just be curious, to be quite honest, and be like, what happens if I set these fires? What do the people do? What happens, So there can be some of that as well. There also could be aspects of just spontaneity, like if it's just spontaneously setting these things, that could be Uranian energy mixed with Mars. And, just because I felt like it kind of thing. And that also deals with being autonomous, being in control. In that moment, I felt like it, so I did it. Damn the consequences, right? So there's that sort of, it fit very well with last week's look at the oppositional defiant disorder, right? So there's a lot of overlap between the two. And then there's also, there could be a Neptunian involvement as well, kind of a romanticization of the fire and your place with it. That I did this thing and I'm the one that caused these things for good or ill, and Pluto too can deal with control, can deal with obsession, maybe feeling like you have that special relationship with the fire, that you sometimes hear people talk about. So any number of those things. So Sarah, do you have any experience with pyromania?
No, I personally do not. No, I actually have never known anyone who have dealt with it or that I know of. I mean, that has admitted it to me. No, that scares me to death, though. I think, I don't know. Have you?
No. So that's unusual, but I did find some celebrities who talk
Okay.
having bouts with it. So we'll go over their charts, and I found that a little bit interesting and eye-opening.
Oh my God.
But just to kind of cover our bases, I pulled up what the DSM-5 has to say on it. And it is deliberate and purposeful fire setting on more than one occasion. Tension or effective arousal before the act. So the arousal, Mars also is our sex drive, right?
Mm.
So the fire and the passion of it, especially with the Pluto aspect, you can see something like that. Fascination with, interest, or curiosity about, or attraction to fire. and situational context. And pleasure, gratification, or relief when setting fires, like almost like I have to do this, the compulsion, which could also be Mercury. It just becomes embedded in the mind. Mercury and Pluto could do something like that. And the fire setting is not done for monetary gain. So they ruled that out. So you can set as many fires as you want for profit. And this
be an odd choice.
Isn't that interesting? Well, if your motivation is
insurance claim or something, if you
that tells you something about the DSM-5, how it looks at things. So money is a proper motivator.
Yeah.
But if the fire is just talking to you, you got something you got to say.
Yeah.
Or if it's an expression of socio-political ideology. Steal a criminal activity, to express anger or vengeance, or to improve one's living circumstances, or as a response to a delusion or hallucination, or as a result of impaired judgment. So if you were, I guess under the influence or had some other issue going on. So this is very specifically like to fire that they have in here.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see how many people have just this though and nothing else. I'm not sure what that statistic is, but it's interesting that they set it so apart. And it can't be better explained by conduct disorder, manic episode, or antisocial personality disorder, which we will be getting to eventually. It's one of the last ones on the docket. So we see, like, even in that description, some of the things I went over with what I would be expecting to see, right? And now taking a look at some of these charts, and I went looking for celebrities who have talked about this, and Richard Pryor came up. And apparently, like, he set himself on fire. Like, he had a fire fascination when he was on cocaine, which is quite a bit back in the day. I'm not sure that would be like by the DSM-5's definition, because it's substance abuse related, right?
Yeah.
Or not. But interestingly, like, he's got his Mars here, snuggled up with Venus. So there's like, I would see that as a monetary aspect. But there could be like a need to feel balanced and whole with Venus there. That I could see that maybe if he was kind of going out of his mind with the cocaine, that might flare up. But right across from here, we've got that Saturn aspect that I was talking about with Mars. So, and Jupiter in on that too. So Jupiter kind of expands whatever it's with. So there could be an aspect of control going on here, and just kind of to see what happens, like what the consequences of it could be, or just spontaneously in the moment too. Any one of those. So let's see. And then Gene Wilder, who also, there's probably a cocaine fueled something going on here. Do you know who Gene Wilder is?
Oh yeah, I just saw a documentary on him.
Well, maybe you could fill in some things. It'd be interesting. I don't know if they talked about this aspect there, but
no, they didn't. They didn't at all. Oh my God.
We've got Mars with Jupiter again. So that's the blowing up of the Mars energy. And in his case, he's a Gemini ascendant here with his sun in Gemini as well. And Gemini is Mercury ruled. So it brings that curiosity element to it. What would happen if I did this?
No, that makes sense.
So I could see that.
Yeah.
Then we got Frida Kahlo.
Oh yeah.
And she was a firebrand just all around. So I was like, I'm not surprised if she was starting actual literal fires.
Yeah.
And here's her Mars. Not only with Uranus, right? So that's that just spontaneously deciding to do it just to do it.
Yeah.
But it's also in the sign of Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn.
Mm.
It's got that aspect of control and just doing it because it's something that she can control,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's also then
Able to control much in her life. I mean, just from her physical injuries and stuff.
exactly. So you can see that, and then she's also it's speaking across from her Neptune, so there could be sort of this fairy tale she might tell herself about
Mm-hmm.
those fires she set, like a romanticization of them or a delusion
Yeah.
implanted within. Uh, the inflated sense of self with that sun aspect being in there, I could see. And again, we get a Jupiter aspect, and they're sort of inflating it. Maybe there's a feeling with the Jupiter aspect too that it'll all work out, that I'll set these fires, but it'll be fine. Like it won't get so out of
Oh, yeah. That's interesting.
I could see something like that too. And then Drew Barrymore, she, I believe, talked about it being a control thing specifically because she had so much of her life planned out for her and so much that felt out of control. So you could totally see that. She's also got that Gemini ascendant, so curious, right?
Mm-hmm.
When somebody has a Gemini ascendant, they tend to have very big eyes too. And that's
Mm-hmm.
stuck out to me with her, like that very innocent, childlike look throughout the life. And in her case, she's got her Mars in Capricorn again. Not saying that everybody with Mars in Capricorn is a pyromaniac, but these things can be flared up depending on circumstances, depending on the frequency that you're in the moment. And from what I understand, she had more of a problem when she was younger doing this, feeling again out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So a Mars in Capricorn is thirsty for its own sense of control, and it can feel very restricted in the lower frequencies. And you can see as she grew in her life, she got a hold of it and became an absolute powerhouse. Kudos to her. There's also a bit of opposition with her moon, which I didn't bring up as much, but absolutely the emotional state in that moment. Like if you're just feeling powerless, it's something that you can do something about. So then knowing that we've got these Mars aspects and involved in pyromania, can we help people channel that energy towards something more productive? Whether that's a sports activity, something physical to get that pent up energy out, or help them feel more in control of their lives, understanding that that's a place that it's likely coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Working from there rather than just being like, they just like fire, right? What's going on in the deeper level. The Mars energy also being a co-ruler of Scorpio, it tends to have a depth to it that can be overlooked. There's an aspect of Mars that's very much just the soldier and go forth and don't overthink. It's more of the Aries energy of spontaneously doing these things. But then there's I like to say Scorpio is more like the assassin,
Mm-hmm.
the very specialized. So depending on what's going on with that, there may be a deep psychological trigger to this that's more than just even the moment. So maybe that people that set these fires, sometimes you'll hear this, I don't know why I did it. I just did.
Oh, yeah.
And so then it takes doing that deep psychological dive into why that might be, to keep them safe, us safe, everybody safe. So
Yeah.
why don't you guys tell me, like, do you have experience with this? What are your thoughts on it? If you would like to know your placements, if you have the pyromaniac placement or not, you can contact me for a reading at phoenixrose.net. And you can also look at astrotheme.com, which is where I get these charts from. They have a whole bunch of celebrity charts. It's very, very interesting for anybody learning astrology. It's a great resource for that. And you can kind of take a look at your own chart, whether it's for this or something else. It can be very eye-opening and helpful in understanding how to work with your energy. So, and that's it, unless you had anything else that you wanted to add, Sarah.
No, that was good.
I told you it'd be quick.
It was you're very good. I learned a lot, actually.
And they can, of course, find you on the Authortunities Hub, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Where you can also come every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Time if you wanted to join us, as Sarah has, and kind of give your 2 cents on some of these topics that I'm going to be covering. We'd love to have you. And until then, like, share, subscribe, all of the things. We want to get this information out to as many people as we can so that we can start changing the frequency of these energies and how people look at them. It's not something that's insurmountable or something that's, not something that they can't have control over, right? It's just a matter of how you look at it. So until then, have a good evening, and I will talk to you all later.